Before any building rises high into the sky, there must first be a foundation that goes deep into the ground. You cannot expect God to elevate you to heights if He has not first grounded you in stability. Preparation seasons are not glamorous, and they do not always look like promotion, but they are the stages where God pours the cement that will hold up your destiny. If the foundation is shallow, the building cannot stand the weight, and the same is true with your life. The deeper the foundation, the greater the height you can reach. Think about how Joseph went from the pit to the palace. Before he could wear the robe of leadership, he had to go through slavery and prison. He had to learn humility, patience, and how to manage people before God trusted him with ruling a nation. Preparation is God's way of making sure you are not destroyed by the very blessing He intends to give you. Promotion without preparation is dangerous, but preparation before promotion is destiny being shaped. Sometimes in your preparation season, you feel invisible. You feel like no one sees you, no one recognizes the gifts you carry, no one acknowledges the sacrifices you are making. But God is watching the hidden moments, the secret decisions, the quiet sacrifices. What you do when no one is clapping for you is what God uses to determine if you are ready for the stage. He doesn't prepare you in the spotlight, He prepares you in the shadows. Preparation doesn't always feel spiritual. Sometimes it looks like discipline, like waking up early when no one forces you, like practicing your craft when no one is paying you, like studying when you'd rather be entertained. God uses ordinary habits to prepare you for extraordinary callings. Preparation is training, and those who train in obscurity will one day shine in visibility. The frustration of preparation is that it feels slow. You want acceleration. But God gives you foundation. You want speed, but God gives you structure. And if you don't understand His timing, you'll confuse preparation for punishment. But God is not punishing you. He's preparing you for a place that is greater than your imagination. When you are in preparation, you often have to carry more than your share. You'll work jobs that seem beneath you. You'll serve in positions where no one thanks you. You'll endure seasons that feel unfair. But it is in those very seasons that God is building your resilience. He's teaching you how to stand when the weight gets heavy, because greatness cannot be carried by weak shoulders. God prepares you by stretching you beyond your comfort zone. You'll be placed in assignments that feel too big for you, but that's how He grows you. If you only operate in what you're comfortable with, you'll never step into what you're called to. The discomfort of preparation is proof that God is stretching your capacity for greatness. And sometimes preparation requires pruning. God will cut off relationships, habits, and mindsets that cannot go with you into your next season. Preparation is not just about adding skills, it's about removing distractions. You cannot step into greatness with dead weight tied to your ankles. God prepares you by trimming what will hinder your rise. Every athlete knows you can't win championships without practice. The hours spent sweating in the gym, the days of running drills, the soreness and pain are what prepare you for the big game. That's how God uses your struggles. Every obstacle you've been facing is not meant to break you. It's been meant to train you. You may not have understood why the opposition came against you the way it did, but God was teaching your spirit how to endure. Struggles sharpen your focus. When life gets hard, you stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter. The pain of a struggle makes you prioritize what is important and forces you to grow in wisdom. Without struggle, you would stay casual. But when life presses you, you learn how to lean into God in a way you never would have without resistance. Your struggles become your education. Some of the greatest lessons you've learned didn't come from comfort. They came from conflict. You learned how strong you were when you had to stand with no one beside you. You discovered resilience when you thought the pressure would break you, but it didn't. Struggles graduate you into maturity. What you call a problem, God calls practice. When David fought lions and bears in the field, he didn't know those battles were training him for Goliath. The little struggles are building the strength for bigger victories. Don't despise the battles that seem small, because they are preparing you for the giants ahead. Sometimes struggles strip away your dependency on people. You'll find that those you counted on will not always show up, and the struggle will teach you that God is your ultimate source. It hurts when people let you down, but that pain drives you to discover the one who will never leave you. The struggle is not about who left, it's about who stayed, and that is God. Your struggle teaches you how to fight with strategy. Anybody can fight with fists, but struggle teaches you to fight with faith. Struggle refines your prayer life, strengthens your persistence, and sharpens your spiritual discernment. You become wiser, sharper, and more equipped because you've had to fight through difficulty. What you thought was going to bury you was actually building you. Struggles are weights in the gym of destiny. Just like lifting resistance builds muscle, fighting resistance builds character. You are stronger today because of the struggles you endured yesterday. What seemed like the enemy trying to destroy you was God using circumstances to develop you. And when you finally step into your greatness, you will look back at the struggles differently. You won't resent them, you'll respect them, because you'll realize it was the pain that prepared you, the difficulty that developed you, and the struggle that shaped you into someone capable of carrying greatness. Waiting is one of the hardest tests of faith. We live in a world that wants everything instantly, but God works through process. When your prayers seem unanswered, when your dreams feel stuck, you may be tempted to think God has denied you. But what you call a delay is God's way of aligning time, opportunity, and your own readiness. Delay is not the end, it is part of the preparation. God doesn't operate on your clock. He has a divine timetable, and if He gave you what you asked for too soon, it would destroy you. The waiting season is where He matures your character. He allows you to grow into the version of yourself that can handle the blessing when it arrives. What feels like wasted time is really development time. Think about Abraham. God promised him descendants as numerous as the stars, but he waited decades before holding Isaac in his arms. The delay wasn't because God forgot. He was showing Abraham that the promise was too big to rush. Every delay has a divine purpose, even when you don't see it. In the delay, God teaches you patience. Patience is not passive, it is strength under control. Waiting builds discipline. Waiting teaches you to keep walking in faith even when you don't see results. The delay is stretching you, molding you, and teaching you that trust is more powerful than timelines. Delay exposes your motives. If you only want the blessing but don't want the giver, you won't last. Sometimes God delays the breakthrough to purify your heart. He wants to know, do you love Him for Him? Or do you only love Him for what He can do for you? The waiting season reveals your true devotion. Delay strengthens your dependence on God. When nothing is moving, you learn to rely on His word, not on your circumstances. You learn that His promises are more real than what you see around you. The delay pushes you to stop leaning on your own understanding and start leaning on His faithfulness. Every delay is loaded with preparation. While you wait, God is arranging opportunities, moving pieces into place, and preparing doors that will open in the right season. If He opened the door too soon, you would miss the fullness of what He planned. The delay is not denial, it is divine coordination. And when the appointed time comes, the delay will make the breakthrough that much sweeter. You will walk into the blessing knowing it wasn't rushed, it wasn't forced, it wasn't counterfeit, it was God's perfect timing. The waiting season will make you appreciate the promise even more. Faith does not grow in ease, it grows in pressure. God stretches your faith by putting you in places where you can't rely. on what you know, who you know, or what you have. He stretches you until you have no choice but to trust Him completely. Faith stretched is faith strengthened. When you are in a season where resources are low, where doors seem closed, where solutions seem out of reach, that's when God is stretching your faith. He wants you to know that you can't buy your way into greatness. You can't manipulate your way into destiny. You must believe your way into it. Stretching faith often feels like being out on the water like Peter. You step out of the boat, and suddenly you realize you're walking in a place where you cannot stand unless God holds you. The stretching of faith teaches you that you can do the impossible when you trust in the one who called you. Faith, stretching seasons strip away security blankets. You'll notice that the people you depended on can't help. The money you counted on dries up. The doors you expected to open stay shut. God removes crutches so you can learn to walk by faith. He knows that as long as you rely on human backup plans, your faith will remain small. Faith stretched is uncomfortable because it requires you to believe before you see. You must declare the promise while standing in the desert. You must trust provision while staring at lack. You must believe healing while still feeling pain. Stretching faith is faith that speaks before the evidence shows up. When your faith is stretched, it produces boldness. You no longer cower at the sight of giants because you've seen God move when the odds were against you. Stretched faith turns fear into fuel. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start declaring, what if it does? Faith that is never stretched stays small, but faith that is stretched becomes the key that unlocks miracles. You cannot step into greatness with casual belief. You must have faith that has been tested, faith that has been stretched, faith that has survived seasons of impossibility. And when God has stretched your faith, you realize that He was never trying to hurt you. He was enlarging your ability to trust Him. He was pulling you beyond your limits so that when greatness arrives, your faith will be strong enough to sustain it. When God hides you, it can feel frustrating because you wonder why no one recognizes your talent, your effort, or your potential. But hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. They are sacred. God uses hiddenness to protect you from premature exposure. If you step into visibility too soon, you may be destroyed by pressures you are not yet ready to carry. Hidden seasons are where God does His deepest work. He shapes your character, molds your mindset, and heals your wounds while you are out of sight. Just like a seed is buried in the soil before it ever breaks through the ground, greatness starts in hiddenness. The soil may be dark, but it's the place where growth begins. Hidden seasons strip away the need for applause. You learn how to serve without recognition, how to pray without validation, how to work faithfully without anyone clapping for you. These moments prepare you for public stages where your heart will be tested by pride. God uses hiddenness to purify your motives. Think about Moses. Before he led Israel out of Egypt, he spent 40 years in the wilderness tending sheep. Nobody was watching him, but God was training him to lead people. Hidden seasons are never wasted. They are rehearsals for destiny. Hiddenness also teaches you contentment. When you stop chasing the spotlight and start finding joy in the unseen, you develop stability. Greatness without contentment produces emptiness. But when you learn to be faithful in the shadows, you can handle the light without losing yourself. Sometimes hidden seasons hurt because they feel like rejection, but you must understand that rejection is often God's protection. He's keeping you from doors you're not ready for, platforms that would crush you, and people who would misuse your gift. Hiddenness is mercy in disguise. God hides you so He can work on things no one else can see. He deals with your fears, your insecurities, and your doubts. He builds strength in your spirit so that when the time comes, you step into greatness with confidence and clarity. And when the appointed season of unveiling arrives, people will think you appeared suddenly. But you'll know the truth. You were being prepared in private long before you were revealed in public. Hidden seasons are proof that God is intentional with your destiny. There is something about brokenness that God uses to release His power. The things you thought would destroy you actually positioned you for His strength to show up. When you've been broken, you understand compassion differently, you see people's pain differently, and you minister from a place of authenticity. Brokenness is not your ending, it's your birthing. Before oil can flow from an olive, the olive must be crushed. Before perfume can be poured out from an alabaster box, the box must be broken. In the same way, the crushing and breaking in your life are the very things God uses to release the oil of anointing on you. Without the breaking, there is no flow. Brokenness humbles you. It shatters pride, dismantles arrogance, and forces you to realize you cannot do this life on your own. In your brokenness, you fall on your knees, and it is there in surrender that God's power becomes real. When you are broken, you discover the strength of God in ways comfort never could reveal. You realize His grace is sufficient, His strength is made perfect in weakness, and His presence is closest when you feel most shattered. Brokenness becomes the birthplace of intimacy with God. Brokenness also makes you relatable. People connect with scars more than perfection. When you've walked through loss, betrayal, or disappointment, your story carries weight because it's not theory, it's testimony. Why? Our brokenness becomes someone else's hope. God does not waste brokenness. Every tear you cried, every wound you carried, every night you thought you wouldn't survive becomes the very material He uses to craft your ministry, your purpose, and your assignment. Brokenness doesn't disqualify you, it qualifies you. Brokenness births creativity. Pain pushes you into places of innovation and vision you would never have explored if everything was comfortable. Out of broken moments come songs, books, businesses, and callings that touch the world. Pain presses purpose out of you, and when you rise from brokenness, you rise stronger. You rise with authority because you are no longer speaking theory, you're speaking survival. Brokenness doesn't leave you empty, it leaves you powerful in a way only God can produce. Opposition is not always an enemy. It is often an instrument. God uses opposition as a tool to sharpen you, strengthen you, and prepare you for greater battles. Without resistance, you would remain dull, but with resistance, you become sharp. Every giant in your life is an opportunity in disguise. Without Goliath, David would have stayed in the fields. The giant was not a barrier. It was a bridge to his destiny. What you are fighting right now is not in the way. It is the way to your next level. Opposition forces you to rise. When the pressure is against you, you either fold or fight. God allows the pressure so you will discover the warrior inside of you. If life was easy, you'd stay comfortable, but opposition forces greatness out of you. Opposition also reveals your allies. When you go through resistance, you quickly learn who is truly with you and who is not. The sharpening of opposition cuts away false relationships and reveals the ones who will stand in the fire with you. God uses opposition to teach you strategy. When you face setbacks and enemies, you learn how to move with wisdom, how to pray with precision, and how to walk with discernment. Opposition doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you smarter. The greatest victories come from the fiercest battles. You cannot expect to be trusted with greatness without facing opposition that proves your faith. Every resistance is training your spirit for the greater assignment God has ahead of you. Sometimes opposition is confirmation. The attack against you is proof of the anointing on your life. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't a threat. The fact that you're under opposition means you're carrying something valuable. And when you overcome opposition, you step into promotion. Every battle won opens the door to another level. Opposition is not meant to stop you. It's meant to propel you. Obedience is the currency of heaven. It's not your talent, your connections, or your education that unlock greatness. It's your willingness to obey God when He speaks. The blessings you're praying for are often tied to instructions you must follow. Obedience requires trust. Sometimes God will tell you to do something that doesn't make sense. He may ask you to step into a place you feel unqualified for, or to give up something you thought you needed. Obedience is not about understanding. It's about trusting that He knows better than you. Think about Naaman. Healing was in the water, but it was locked behind obedience. Until he dipped 7 times in the Jordan, he remained sick. Greatness is the same. It waits on your obedience. Obedience demands sacrifice. It may cost you friends, comfort, and convenience. But every act of obedience is an investment in your future. The more you surrender, the more God can release. Obedience positions you for miracles. The disciples didn't catch fish all night, but at the word of Jesus, when they let down the nets again, the catch was so great their boats almost sank. The miracle wasn't in the water, it was in their obedience. Disobedience delays destiny. Jonah ran from God and ended up in the belly of a fish. But the moment he obeyed, his assignment opened back up. Every time you obey, you align yourself with the flow of God's plan. Obedience develops discipline. It trains you to hear God's voice, trust His leading, and walk in alignment. Greatness requires discipline, and obedience is the pathway to it. And obedience creates legacy. When you walk in obedience, your life becomes a testimony that impacts generations. Your obedience today will bless your children tomorrow. When God is preparing you for greatness, He stretches your capacity. The stretching doesn't feel good. It feels like pressure. It feels like too much. It feels like you're being pulled in directions you didn't ask for. But enlargement always requires discomfort. You cannot handle bigger blessings with a small container. God increases your responsibilities to stretch you. You may be handling more at work, more in your family, or more in ministry, and it feels overwhelming. But this pressure is proof that God is enlarging your capacity. He's showing you that you can handle more than you thought. Enlargement is like training your lungs for higher altitudes. If you've only ever breathed in low places, the air feels thinner when you climb. But as you keep climbing, your lungs expand. God stretches you so that when He elevates you, you won't suffocate under the new atmosphere. Enlargement requires breaking limits in your thinking. You cannot step into greatness with a mindset stuck in smallness. God stretches your imagination, your vision, and your faith to see beyond what you're used to. He enlarges your capacity by expanding what you believe is possible. When your capacity is being enlarged, you often feel like you're at the edge of breaking. But breaking and stretching are different. Breaking destroys, but stretching develops. What feels like breaking is actually God's hand pulling you into expansion. Enlargement often brings new challenges. You'll face situations that require more wisdom, more patience, more endurance. These challenges are not meant to crush you, they are meant to grow you. Each new test increases your capacity to carry greater weight. God enlarges you through exposure. He allows you to see bigger opportunities, meet people on higher levels, and step into places you never imagined. Exposure stretches your vision and forces you to realize there is more in you than you've been using. And when the enlargement is complete, you'll look back and realize the things that used to overwhelm you don't even faze you anymore. God stretched you so that you could carry greatness without crumbling under the weight. When God is preparing you for greatness, not everyone can go with you. Separation is painful, but it is necessary. God removes people, habits, and places that would contaminate your destiny. You cannot carry dead weight into a living destiny. Separation reveals who really belongs in your life. Some people are attached to your past, but cannot handle your future. God separates you so you don't stay chained to people who can't grow with you. Not every companion is meant for the journey to greatness. Think about Abraham. When God called him to a new land, he told him to leave his country, his relatives, and his father's house. The call required separation. Greatness always requires a letting go. Separation doesn't mean rejection, it means direction. God is directing your life away from places that are too small, away from relationships that are draining, and away from patterns that would sabotage your promise. Separation forces you to stand on your own. When God separates you, you may feel lonely, but loneliness births clarity. You hear God's voice clearer when distractions are gone. Separation strips away noise so you can focus on purpose. Not everyone has the capacity to support your calling. Some will be jealous, some will be threatened, some will misunderstand. God separates you to protect your peace and keep your focus. Separation is not cruelty, it's preservation. Separation also brings elevation. The higher an aircraft goes, the less weight it can carry. If you want to soar, you must lighten the load. Separation clears the runway for takeoff. And one day, you'll realize separation was never about what you lost. It was about what you gained. God separates you so He can secure your destiny. Talent can open doors, but only character can keep you there. God refines your character before He releases greatness. Refining is not always easy. It's a process of fire, pressure, and purification. He removes impurities so you can stand in your assignment without compromise. Character is forged in testing. When you're tempted to cut corners, lie, or compromise, God is watching. Every choice refines your integrity. Greatness without integrity collapses, but greatness with integrity lasts. God refines your humility. He will allow circumstances that remind you not to boast in yourself, but to depend on Him. Humility keeps you grounded when success comes. Without humility, pride will sabotage what talent built. Refinement happens in everyday decisions. How you treat people who can't benefit you reveals character. How you respond when nobody is watching reveals character. God is less impressed with your gifts than He is with your integrity. Character refinement often comes through correction. God will check your attitude, your motives, and your actions. Correction is not rejection, it is protection. He loves you too much to let flaws sabotage your future. Refinement also happens through responsibility. God will give you small tasks to see if you're trustworthy. If you're faithful in little, you will be faithful in much. Stewardship proves character. Refinement teaches you discipline. It keeps you consistent when others quit, honest when others cheat, and steady when others waver. Discipline is the backbone of character. And when the refining is complete, you step into greatness with integrity, humility, and strength. Your character becomes the anchor that keeps your greatness from drifting into destruction. You cannot run a marathon with the energy of a sprinter. Greatness requires endurance. It is not about starting fast, it is about finishing strong. Endurance is what keeps you moving when excitement wears off and obstacles arise. Endurance is built through pressure. Every hardship you survive increases your stamina. Each time you keep going when you felt like quitting, your endurance grows. God allows difficulties so you learn how to last. Endurance separates the committed from the casual. Anybody can start a dream, but not everyone endures the grind, the waiting, the setbacks. Endurance proves you are serious about your destiny. Endurance is not glamorous. It looks like showing up when you don't feel like it, staying consistent when results are slow, and remaining faithful when no one is clapping. Greatness is reserved for those who endure. Endurance makes you stronger than storms. When the wind blows and the waves rise, endurance anchors you. It keeps you standing when others are swept away. Endurance is what gives you staying power. Endurance is fueled by vision. When you see the promise ahead, you push past the pain. Vision makes you endure valleys because you know the mountain is coming. Endurance is not about ignoring struggle. It's about keeping focus on what's ahead. God uses endurance to prepare you for longevity. Greatness is not about flashes of success. It's about lasting impact. Endurance ensures your greatness is sustainable. And when you endure, you inspire others. Your perseverance becomes proof that it's possible to keep going. Your endurance lights the path for others who are tempted to quit. Before God gives you more, He tests how you handle what you have. Stewardship is the training ground of greatness. If you can't manage little, you won't manage much. God measures your readiness for greatness by your stewardship. Stewardship is about responsibility. It's not just about money, it's about time, opportunities, and relationships. How you manage today determines what God can trust you with tomorrow. Think about the parable of the talents. The servants who managed their small portions well were given more. The one who wasted his portion lost it. Stewardship always leads to increase or decrease. Stewardship requires excellence. It means doing your best even when nobody sees it. If you're sloppy with little, you'll be sloppy with much. God looks at the excellence of your stewardship before He enlarges your influence. Stewardship also means gratitude. When you're thankful for the little, you prove you can value the much. Gratitude is stewardship of the heart. An ungrateful spirit disqualifies increase. Stewardship involves discipline. It means saying no to waste, managing your emotions, and protecting your focus. Discipline creates capacity for more. Without discipline, increase becomes chaos. God teaches stewardship through tests. He will see how you handle opportunities that don't look big, how you treat people who can't promote you, and how you manage blessings that seem small. Every test of stewardship is preparation for more. And when you prove faithful, doors open. Promotion always follows stewardship. God rewards those who can handle responsibility with trust for greater things. God is not just trying to change your situation. He's trying to change you. Transformation always comes before elevation. If He gave you greatness without transforming your mindset, you'd sabotage it. That's why He works on your inner life first. Transformation starts in your mind. You cannot think small and live great. God renews your mind so you stop seeing yourself as limited and start seeing yourself as chosen. As your thoughts shift, your life follows. Transformation requires letting go of old habits. You can't step into new levels with old ways. God challenges your routines, your patterns, and your cycles because they cannot carry you into greatness. Transformation is often uncomfortable. God pushes you out of comfort zones, challenges your excuses, and confronts your fears. But this discomfort is the sign that you're being transformed. Transformation requires surrender. You can't hold on to your way and walk in God's way. True transformation happens when you lay down control and allow Him to shape you. Transformation changes how you handle challenges. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with faith. Instead of quitting under pressure, you stand with resilience. Transformation shifts your response to life. Transformation also changes your relationships. As you grow, you attract new connections and release toxic ones. Transformation reshapes your environment to match your destiny. And when transformation has done its work, elevation becomes possible. God lifts those who are renewed, refined, and ready for the weight of greatness. Nothing you've gone through will be wasted. Every tear, every disappointment, every setback is raw material in God's hands. He wastes nothing. What seemed pointless was preparing you. Preparation seasons feel hidden, but they are full of lessons. You learned resilience, you discovered strength, you built faith, and you grew character. Those lessons will sustain you in greatness. What you thought was delay was actually design. God was shaping your future through the very struggles you resented. Nothing was random. It was all preparation. Preparation seasons are investments. Just like a farmer sows seed and waits for harvest, your sacrifices, prayers, and efforts are seeds in the ground. At the right time, the harvest will prove none of it was wasted. Even your failures are part of preparation. The mistakes taught you wisdom. The losses taught you strategy. The pain taught you empathy. Every piece of your journey has value. God does not waste pain. He uses your scars to strengthen your voice, your wounds to deepen your wisdom, and your history to amplify your influence. Nothing is wasted in His process. Preparation seasons teach you faithfulness. You learned how to serve faithfully when nothing seemed to change. That faithfulness becomes the foundation for your promotion. And one day, you'll see how it all fit together. You'll realize every season, even the hardest ones, were part of God's plan to prepare you for greatness. Right before the breakthrough, life often feels hardest. Pressure intensifies before the promise. The enemy attacks fiercest right before release. You are closer than you think. Closeness often feels like chaos. Doors close, resistance rises, emotions flare, but all of it is a sign you are on the verge of stepping into something new. The darkest hour is always before the dawn. You may feel weary, but weariness is proof you've been carrying weight. Don't mistake fatigue for failure. Fatigue means you've been pushing, and pushing always leads to progress. God aligns everything in hidden ways. While you feel stuck, He is moving pieces, positioning people, and preparing doors. The breakthrough is nearer than your emotions suggest. Closeness tests your persistence. Will you give up when it feels impossible, or will you push through the final stretch? Many people quit right before their miracle. Don't stop when you're this close. Signs of resistance are proof of breakthrough. The enemy doesn't fight what's not valuable. The attack is confirmation that you are carrying something worth contending for. You are closer than you think because the preparation has already been done. You've endured hidden seasons, survived struggles, learned obedience, and developed character. You are equipped for what's coming. And when the moment arrives, it will feel sudden. But it won't be. It will be the manifestation of everything you've endured. You are closer than you think, and everything is aligning for your release into greatness.